Hi, we are Team GPT-4 Found, and this is our final presentation on our question answering system. So we'll start by going over our question generation part. This is mainly two parts, the sentence selection and question formation part, and then the question ranking part where we try to select the best questions. So here's our overview of the question generation part. We take the article, we pre-process it using like tokenization and split into sentences. And then we want to select the best sentence for forming questions. So we use some sort of predicate structures to help us identify which sentences might be good for that. Then we parse the sentences and we use other tools like named entity recognition to help us identify the question type. And then we form the question statement from that. So here's a more in-depth look at WH question types. So here we consider where, when, what, etc. And as mentioned before, we parse the sentence using Stanford parser, and then we use named entity recognition and then WordNet as well as part of speech tags to help us identify the question type. So for example, a person named entity recognition tag or the lowest common hypernym being homo will give us an indication that it might be a who type of question that we want to ask. For binary questions, identifying the question word depends on the verb, the main verb of the sentence. So if the main verb is a to be verb, then we just take the same form of the verb in the question. And if it's not a to be verb, then we lemmatize the main verb and we conjugate the form of the verb do depending on the tense of that main verb. Then for question formation, we take our correct verb form and then we move it around so that it fits the sentence we have. For WH question types, we take the question type and then we combine it with the binary form of the question where we truncate it to remove the answer and we combine that to make our question. And then finally, we do some formatting at the end to clean up our question and make it grammatical. Our next part is the question ranking part of our project. So we take some questions generated from our system and we hand label and we use that as training data to train a classifier for our two types of questions, which are WH questions and binary questions. And each classifier then ranks that type of question and gives us by probability. And then we output n over 2 of each of them, so it's balanced. So we take the top n over 2 binary questions and top n over 2 WH questions as our output. So classifiers consider, we did logistic regression and MLP. We briefly considered naive Bayes, but we decided because the features aren't really independent that the probabilities wouldn't be very accurate. And then finally, the features we use for our classifiers, we generate these from the question source sentence, and these include things like length of the questions and sentences, and then parts of speech, and then Boolean features for the type of question it is. So here's a summary of class topics we used in question generation. We mentioned most of these in our presentation: dependency parsing, part speech tagging, named entity recognition, WordNet, regular expressions a little bit for the cleaning part, and then the classifiers as we just described. Here's a list of the tools we used. We used NLTK, Spacey, Stanford parser, and MLConj3 that was for the conjugating the verbs, and then sklearn and joblib. And finally, here is a list of the references we consulted for this part of the presentation.
Now, coming to the answering system, we employ a traditional rule-based system, which is a hybrid system that consists of using dependency parsing as well as POS tags. The brief overview is that we first identify the question type, then we extract the candidate sentences, and if possible, we extract a concise answer from it. Question type identification is quite simply done with the help of POS tags. For example, what questions have WP tags and where questions have WRP tags, and similarly, the question type is identified. Candidate sentence extraction. First, coreference resolution is performed and short sentences are eliminated. Multiple types of similarity is computed with the help of word-to-vec similarity, word overlap, as well as spacey similarity, which uses contextual embeddings, and a set intersection is taken between these in order to get the candidate sentences. Answer formation. Now, first we convert the question to a declarative form. Like for example, where did Messi play his first game is converted into Messi played his first game, and then the second part of the answer comes from specific rule-based parsing based on the candidate sentence and the question type. For example, a when-based question. In this, we go through the roots children subtrees and we check for ADP tag for a when-based question, and hence these two subtrees are going to be matched. Then we know that a when-based question must return a date, so we check for that NER tag, and hence this is returned. So a similar approach is employed for where-based questions and how many based questions, but for differing NER tags.
We now move on to the who-based questions, and the approach we take here is to perform named entity recognition and extract the entities with a person tag. Once we extract these entities, we remove them one by one from the sentence and find the gap sentence that has the highest similarity to the question, and the corresponding named entity with the person tag is returned as the answer. Similar parsing techniques have been used for the how and the why questions. Binary questions. The approach for binary questions is that we extract the proper nouns, verbs, nouns, and adjectives in the question, and if all of them or hyponyms and synonyms of them are present in the answer, we return a yes, otherwise, we return a no. What questions are tricky, and we observe that they have multiple requirements where it might expect a concise answer such as the first one or a very verbose answer. To deal with this, we resorted to returning a candidate sentence itself as the answer because it was generally seen to do well for what-based questions. Finally, to give an overview, our answering system makes use of dependency parsing and part-of-speech tagging simultaneously to make it more robust. We also try to extract the initial portion of the answer from the question itself to make the completion of the answer more fluent and concise. We also employ synonyms, hyponyms, and antonyms in the binary questions and also make use of word embeddings. Thank you.